Now is Tennessee Senator Bill Hagerty, a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Senator, thanks very much for being here. What is your reaction to the latest developments?
Well, it's not surprising. President Trump has been entirely clear this entire period that Iran needs to come to the table, that he will not allow them to have a nuclear weapon. Yet what does Iran do? Continues to tap the ball. They go past the 60-day window that they'd been given, and they continue to advance their nuclear program. It's no surprise that Israel has taken the action that they have, Maria. I think they have no choice. This is an existential decision on behalf of Bibi Netanyahu. He cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon because Iran's been very clear. Death to Israel and also death to America. We have to take them at their word. This regime has been nothing but using every tactic in the book, I should say, to basically buy more time to, quote, negotiate, while in the background they continue to develop this weapon. This capability is something we can't let them finalize. President Trump has been, again, extraordinarily clear. He will not let that happen.
So how far should the U.S. be going in order to effect change then, Senator? We were, talking with Warren Davidson earlier, your colleague in the House, who said, look, we're not at war with Iran. And you've got Democrats out there, trying to come up with some ways to limit President Trump's ability to actually make decisions on going further in terms of participating here.
I think President Trump has been very clear. He's not for these forever wars that go on ad infinitum.
That's right.
I agree with that. At the same time, he's also been very clear that we stand with Israel. I think most people in America feel the same way. I think President Trump has a spectrum of options before him. I'm not going to get ahead of him and try to predict what he might do, but I'll say this: Israel's doing an incredible job. Their intelligence has been impeccable. And I think the Iranians need to wake up and realize they're on their back foot, they're on their back heel, and they need to get to the table quickly to get this resolved because they are not winning.
What are your thoughts on potential mischief from China and potentially Russia here? There were some reports that I saw that China was delivering weapons to Iran to be supportive. I mean, China is strongly condemning Israel's actions in Iran, saying it opposes, quote, the use of force and illegal unilateral sanctions. Is China supporting Iran right now?
They have been supporting Iran, Maria, over time. If you think about it, who's been buying this illicit oil? Iran's been evading sanctions. How? They're selling their oil to China. China's been providing the funds. The funds have been used, therefore, to build up Hamas, to build up Hezbollah, to build up the Houthis. It's Iranian technology, Iranian know-how that's being used along with Iranian funds, which are being basically funneled from China through Iran back into these zones of terror. China needs to bring this to a complete halt. They need to join us, and we need to see this come to an end.
I want to get your take on the big, beautiful bill as well. As I mentioned, I just spoke with Congressman Warren Davidson, who was one of only 2 no votes in the House before that bill was sent to the Senate. And here's what he just said to me. Watch this. Are you willing to take this so far as to blow up the president's agenda? What is your problem with this bill? Is it debt and deficits? Are you going to vote yes on it?
Well, I didn't vote on it the last time. The problem is, as I said, there's only one Congress we control. It's the one we're in. And frankly, we control this presidential term, and it never spends less money. I could live with the fact that it spends a little more money and it grows deficits for a year or two if by the end of President Trump's term, it's back below the current level of the deficit. The current level of deficit isn't sustainable. That's why we've campaigned. That's why we pushed DOGE. That's why Elon Musk is saying this is going the wrong direction.
Yeah,
we're trying to save money here.
So you're willing to blow up the president's agenda. You're willing to blow up the president's agenda then?
I'm not voting for a bill that grows deficits, Maria.
Senator, is there any way that the deficits will be lower at the end of the president's term?
There certainly is a way. I think Warren is speaking from the frustration with the product that came from the House. There's a lot in that I think is going to be refined. There's going to be more deficit reduction orientation in what the Senate is working on right now. I'm not going to get in the middle of the negotiations, but just take salt, for example, the state and local tax exemption. It came over from the House with a $40,000 exemption per year. The Senate's come back with a $10,000 exemption. That's a negotiation that's underway. Again, I'm not going to try to get ahead of the negotiators, but this is what's going to take place. This is how it gets done here in Washington. Overall, though, I'd say this: we have to keep in mind that to not address this, that to not address the extension of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act would deliver north of $4 trillion of tax increases to the American people. The White House budget model predicts that there would be a 6% decline in GDP next year. Were that to happen, we're not going to let that happen either, Maria. So we're in the process of fine-tuning. Everybody wants this to be as conservative as it can be, but also it's imperative that we get this passed and passed quickly so the capital expenditure plans can firm up, so that the investments that we want to see happen in America do begin to get planned, so that 2026 is the best year we've seen on record.
Well, I think you're making a really important point here, because it is on you all to stop a $4 trillion tax increase, which will happen automatically unless you get this bill over the finish line. And of course, the Senate Finance Committee has unveiled the text of their changes yesterday from the big, beautiful bill, which includes the tax reforms and even steeper cuts to Medicaid than the House called for. You mentioned the increase, the differences include the increase in the child tax credit. And you mentioned the lower cap on the state and local tax deduction going back to $10,000 from the House's $40,000 cap. But, you know, New York Congressman Mike Lawler has already said that that Senate proposal is dead on arrival, warning that he will not vote yes for this bill. He'll vote no if that SALT cap remains at $10,000. Congressman Lawler is going to be on this program tomorrow, but, you know, I know what he's going to say because he has said it to me before. He said, look, we delivered the majority. Those Republicans who are coming from blue states like New York, like California, like New Jersey, delivered the majority for the Republicans. We need to have a voice. And you say?
I think he certainly has had a voice. I think you look at the Senate, we don't have a SALT constituency in the Senate. We don't have senators from California, New York, Illinois. We're trying to address this, but we're trying to do this in a fiscally responsible manner. Again, we're in the middle of a negotiation. Mike is at 40,000. The U.S. Senate right now is at 10,000. Again, I'm sure Mike will be clear at his point tomorrow, but we're in the middle of a negotiation. We'll see where it lands.
I want to get to the stablecoin legislation in a second, but what about the PTET fix and the House bill repeals that pass through entity tax election for entities that are specified services, trades, or businesses? And of course, this was enacted in many blue states following the SALT deduction in the first place. It was supposed to be a workaround. But you've got businesses like financial services and doctors and lawyers, accountants who are going to get impacted here. Where do you want to see that go?
I think Mike Crapo and team are taking a much broader look rather than try to pick out specific industries or subsets. They're taking a much broader look at this. It may not be as much of a cut as what was hoped for, but I think it'll be broader in terms of its impact. Again, I don't want to get in the middle of the specific negotiations. I'll leave that to the negotiators. But that's where I think it probably lands.
Well, why are there still green subsidies in there from the Inflation Reduction Act? Are they going to be eliminated?
I think they're going to be scrutinized very, very carefully, Maria. I understand the arguments, that is that certain companies have relied to their detriment on the tax subsidies that were there, but I think we're going through this with a fine-tooth comb. Certainly we don't want to see any more new utilization of these types of tools, and I think they're trying to minimize the disruption and the damage that might have occurred from those companies that have already relied upon it and started projects.
Senator, let me get your take. We've got an exclusive interview tomorrow with the new chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Paul Atkins will be my special guest. What do you want to see from the SEC right now as the final vote for the Senate's Genius Act on stablecoin legislation is happening today? You say you want to make Tennessee a hub for Bitcoin mining. What do you want to see from the Securities and Exchange Commission, and where do you think the priorities stand today at the new leadership at the SEC?
Well, I'd say first, I'm very enthusiastic about the stablecoin legislation that I've led. We've been working on this for months. We have a strong bipartisan product. We will deliver that midday today. We'll have it ready. And I think it's got a tremendous amount of input from the industry, from my colleagues here. We've involved the administration. I think we're going to have a great product that actually sets the stage for moving into a modern day payment system into the 21st century, getting us off the old system that was designed in the 1970s and 80s, making the dollar the key element in the digital arena. And frankly, it will stimulate more demand for U.S. Treasuries. It will strengthen the dollar's position as a reserve currency. We're going to see that advance in a way that, again, takes a lot of friction out of an old clunky system, reduces counterparty risk, reduces currency risk, and will bring a lot of working capital back to the companies that need it and back into the economy. With respect to the SEC, I couldn't ask for a better partner than Paul Atkins. He's doing a terrific job already. We're going to be working arm in arm to try to help advance the entire cryptocurrency industry, the entirety of this industry that'll keep us on the cutting edge of the 21st century. As you mentioned, I want to make my state a hub. We've got Bitcoin miners there. We've got Bitcoin Park there. We had the great Bitcoin conference there. there that President Trump attended. That's where he announced that he would be firing Gary Gensler. I think that received great applause, and I think everybody's extremely happy to see someone strong, conservative, hard-nosed fellow like Paul Atkins coming into office. I'm looking forward to working, arm in arm together with him.